Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Amit Shrivastava. I am professor in CSE Department, SIRT, Bhopal. Today, we will be discussing the memory management in operating system. So today is the lecture 1, and this is a module 2, in which we will be discussing the memory management techniques, partitioning, swapping, segmentation, etc. So the main objective are to provide a detailed description of various ways of organizing memory hardware, to discuss various memory management techniques, including paging and segmentation, and to provide a detailed description of segmentation with paging. The basic hardwares which are required are the main memory and registers are the only storage which CPU can access directly. Program must be brought from the disk into the memory or the RAM and placed within a process for it to be run. Register can be accessed in one CPU clock or less, but main memory can take many cycles for accessing. Cache sits between the main memory and CPU registers for speeding up the things. And protection of memory is required to ensure the correct operation. Base and limit registers are the two basic registers which are required for protection of different processes. They work like this. The base register holds the base address of our process. For example, in this process, our process is starting from 30040 memory address. So base address will be holding that only. And the limit register is the length of the process. So this 120900 is obtained by subtracting this 30040 from the 420940. So whenever this process tries to generate any address, then it is checked that it is less than the base plus limit register. That address should be less than base plus limit register, and it should be greater than the base address. If it is so, then it means it is trying to access the authorized or valid address that is lying within the limits of this process. If it is trying to access address which is beyond this process, then the process will automatically be terminated by the operating system. So these base and limit registers that can be utilized for that purpose. Now, one basic concept for memory management is address binding. So address binding of instructions and data to memory addresses can happen at 3 different stages: at compile time, at load time, and at runtime. Now, first of all, what do we mean by address binding? And what are the types of addresses? So basically, there are 2 different types of addresses: logical address and physical address. Logical address are the address generated by the CPU as per the program. Like suppose if I've got 500 statements in my program, then the logical address can be anywhere between 1 to 500. But when I place my program into the main memory or into the RAM, then its address changes, because the physical address will not be from 1 to 500. It can be anything. So we have to map this logical address, that is 1 to 500, to the physical address where this program is actually lying. And that is why this address binding is required. So logical address had to be mapped to physical address for execution of my program. So this mapping can be done at 3 different times. Like at compile time, so if the memory location is already known in prior, then absolute code can be generated at compile time itself. What is the disadvantage? If we try to shift our program at runtime, maybe due to the compaction technique or maybe due to any reason, then in that case, the program needs to be recompiled, again link it, and then again load it. So it will take a lot of time. So every time I change the physical location of my program, all these 3 things, that is the compilation, linking, and loading, have to be done. And therefore, it is not practically possible to do the compile time binding. We can go for load time. So in that case, the same scenario will be there. If we shift the program into the physical memory from one place to another place, then I will require to reload the program again. And again, it is not practically possible. So we go for the execution time binding. So binding is delayed until the runtime. If the process is moved during its execution from one memory segment to another, then we can make use of some hardwares for changing that address, and no need of recompiling or reloading of a program is required. So execution time binding is the requirement for this particular facility. Okay. So logical address and physical address, as I have already explained, logical address are generated by the CPU, also referred to as virtual addresses. Physical address are the addresses seen by the memory unit. Logical and physical address are the same in compile time and load time address binding scheme. However, logical and physical address differ in the execution time address binding scheme. Now, the memory management unit, or MMU, the hardware device that maps virtual to the physical address. In MMU scheme, the value in the relocation register is added to every address generated by a user process at the time it is sent to the memory. The user program deals with logical addresses. It never sees the real physical addresses. So this is how the relocation register works. So suppose our program, our CPU is generating the logical address of 346. This will be basically the statement number of my program. Now, relocation register is holding the address 14,000. It means that my program has been loaded into the physical memory starting from 14,000. And that is why this 14,000 is stored in the relocation register. So whenever I need to go to the 346 statement, then obviously I will have to add this 14,000 to it. So the address will become 14,346 in the physical memory. So this is how the relocation register works. Now, next is dynamic loading. All routines are kept on the disk in a relocatable load format. The main program is loaded into the memory and is executed. When a routine needs to call another routine, the calling routine first checks to see whether the other routine has been loaded. If not, if it has not been loaded, then the relocatable linking loader is called to load the desired routine into the memory and to update the program's address table to reflect the changes. Then control is passed to the newly loaded routine. So what is the advantage of dynamic loading? Better memory space utilization is possible through this concept. Unused routine is never loaded. So in a large program consisting of many infrequently required routines will require only small space in the physical memory. Useful when large amount of code are needed to handle infrequently occurring cases such as error routines. Suppose we have written 100 different types of error routines. So if this error occurs, then this routine should be run. And if that error occurs, then that particular routine should be run. So every type of error will not be occurring while I execute the program. Maybe one or two error may occur. So what is the need of placing all the 100 error routines into the RAM in the initial? Whenever I require that particular error routine, then this dynamic loading concept can be utilized for loading that particular routine only. And this is how we can save a lot of memory space. So this is the benefit of dynamic loading. Dynamic linking is the concept which we normally used for the system libraries. For suppose I have one program running the C++ program, and we know that for any input output, I require iostream.h header file. And if 10 such programs are running in the RAM of C++, then all the programs will obviously be doing the input output kind of thing. So by default, every program will be requiring the iostream.h header file. Now, if I load this iostream.h header file with every program, then 10 copies of that iostream.h header file will have to be loaded into the RAM. This will waste a lot of precious space. So what we do in the dynamic linking, a stub is included in the image for each library routine reference. A stub is a small piece of code which is either used to locate the appropriate memory resident library routine or how to load the library if the routine is already not present in the memory. So stub replaces itself with the address of the routine and executes the routine. This system is also known as shared library. It means that if any one program has already loaded that particular library routine like iostream.h header file, then the stub will be C. If the second program also requires iostream.h header file, then the stub will be C whether that iostream.h header file is already present in the main memory. If it is, then it will simply link that same iostream.h header file with this program also. And if it is not present in the RAM or in the main memory, then it will reload it from the hard disk. So this is how 10 programs can run a single copy of iostream.h header file. And therefore, again, dynamic linking concept also helps us saving the memory space. So thank you.